Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Power in Partnership series. Today's focus, we will talk about eContent integrations with Aspen Discovery. My name is Jessie Zarrow, and I'm the Director of Library Sales and Outreach at Bywater Solutions, and I have the wonderful Bill Kessler with me. Hello, Bill.
Hey there.
Bill works with our Aspen partners, helping them make the decision to move over to Aspen Discovery. So today, Bill and I will walk you through eContent integrations and working with those partner vendors throughout the country that provide content that integrates with Aspen Discovery. If you have questions, please drop those in the chat box. We'll be monitoring those. We will be leaving time at the end to answer any type of questions that you have. Okay, so we'll kick it off. When we say eContent integration, what do we mean? Well, there are multiple ways that you can tie in eContent into Aspen Discovery. There's essentially two ways. One, via an API, and we'll talk about those vendors that can do it. And then the second is side loading, which means you get MARC records from that vendor and you can bring them into the system. With library setups, there's multiple ways that you can do this. First, we have our single branch systems and multi-branch systems. You can connect directly, either via API or side loading, to bring those records into your system. The second are for large systems like consortiums or library networks. And perhaps you have some libraries that subscribe to content and others that don't. This is what we call scoping. That allows your libraries to specify who has what. And then, of course, databases. These can also be integrated in multiple ways via API, web resources, or placards. So now let's talk a little bit about eContent vendors. So with API connections, Aspen Discovery can connect directly to the top 5 vendors: Boundless, Cloud Library, Hoopla, Libby Overdrive, and Palace Project. What this means for staff is that with a direct API connection, we can bring records back and forth into Aspen Discovery without intervention for uploading records. And if you're doing a happy dance over there, so am I, because that means you don't have to manually upload them. They'll come like magic back and forth in between each system. And why that's great? You no longer have to go and look for those deleted records or ones that you've hit your 25 checkouts with within the system. What that also means for your patrons is that they can check that material out right from Aspen Discovery, and it will show in their My Account. So that way they can see what they have checked out from Libby or Hoopla or Boundless or Cloud Library. Now, for vendors where we don't have an API connection, that means you can sideload that material into Aspen Discovery. When we say sideload, that means you can take those MARC files and upload them directly into Aspen Discovery. They will then be indexed and searchable within Aspen, so your users can click and either view that streaming resource in Canopy or view a comic from Comics Plus. We've listed a few common vendors that our partners have set up on their Aspen Discovery. And Bill and I's favorite part of all of our demos and sessions is where we get to show you all of our partners and the amazing things that they have done. So you'll get to see that next. Now, for eContent databases, we currently have 3 that we can connect to via API: EBSCOhost, EBSCOEDS, and ProQuest Summons. Now, for vendors that you have database access to where we do not have a direct API connection, you can use some of the resources that Aspen Discovery has built in to make those discoverable for your users. That includes things like web resources, which allows you to categorize each one of these databases within the system. You can also use features like placards to advertise that you have these great resources. Placards are an awesome way to advertise that things are available based on a search that you do. So I always think about BrainFuse, right? They have all these great resources: tutoring, homework help, veteran services. And a lot of times you have all of this great information, it's on your website, but maybe it's not discoverable within the search results itself. You can use placards to highlight that. So for example, if somebody searches for careers or jobs, they get that placard that talks about your subscription to BrainFuse. So these are really nice ways that you can use built-in features of Aspen Discovery to highlight everything you have to offer. There are also things like Explore More, which will show those results in any search that your patron performs while they're searching in Aspen. And then also the Web Builder, which allows you to build out pages directly in Aspen to highlight some of these features. And we have lots of good examples to show you. Now let's take a quick pause and we're going to jump over and we are going to look at some of these examples. So our first example we'll start with here is Cuyahoga County Public Library. They're in Ohio, and we've pulled them up to show what integration with Libby looks like. So we're using Aspen here to show off the collection for Libby. So you'll see right over here on the left-hand side, using our facets, we have narrowed down to show Libby and Overdrive. What's nice about that API integration is that it will show those titles that are available online. And of course, if any of them are checked out, they'll also be able to place a hold. In some cases, you can even preview some of the formats that are available. The other nice feature with Libby is the tie-in and breakout for ebooks and Kindles. This way, if a patron comes and they have a Kindle and that's the format they need, they can come right in and check that information out. So it provides an easy way for them to see that information. Next, we'll take a look at Alachua County Library District. They're using Aspen Discovery, and in this case, we're highlighting Hoopla. So you can see with their direct API integration, they can see titles that are available via Hoopla. Patrons will have a direct link to check out and take them into that particular title. It will also show in My Account as well as their Hoopla app. Our next example here is Pasco County Library Cooperative. They're in the state of Florida, and in this one, we're showing off Cloud Library. So here as we scroll through, you'll notice that we can see a breakdown of titles that are available for both e-audio and ebook with a direct link to check out on Cloud Library. Cloud Library is a direct API connection, so that means that your users will be able to see that content checkout in their My Account as well. And one of the great things that we always like to point out, and I know Bill gets excited about this too, is that each one of our libraries has the opportunity to customize how things appear to the end user. So sometimes libraries like to say things like streaming or e-video or ebook or e-content. All of that information can be set up and customized within your account, making it as easy as possible for users to explore what's available at your library. Our next example here is Addison Public Library, and we've pulled up what the Boundless, formerly Access 360, integration looks like. So as we scroll down here, you'll notice we have that breakout between the e-book and the e-audiobook, and this takes us to check out or place a hold directly within Boundless. And so again, I like immediately that it tells us exactly if it's available or checked out. So we'll be able to see those color and visuals as well as the language will change over here. So in our previous examples, we saw that they were available and we could check them out. In this case, I can place a hold. Active holds will show up in their My Account for any API connections. So again, making it seamless for them to see not only what they have placed on hold in their physical content, but also in their e-content.
And Jesse, Addison is part of Swan, so not every library in the consortia has to subscribe to it.
Exactly, Bill. So this is a great example for you to see where libraries have scoped something where they might be part of a larger consortium, but can easily highlight a specific subscription that they have for their patrons. Our next example here is Santa Barbara Public Library. And one of our most recent connections is the Palace Project. This is a feature that allows you to connect directly with Aspen via an API. And in here, you can see what that looks like. This gives us direct integration where the user can place a hold or check things out directly from that Palace project. So in this case, we can see those are checked out, but as we scroll down a little bit further, we can see those that are available online. So with this API integration, we can connect directly to the Palace project. Our next example here is McKinney Public Library in Texas. And they are always creating such a personalized experience for their users. One of our favorite headers where they're showing gifts at the top and exploring things. But today we're deciding to show you Udemy online courses. So again, we think about all those resources that are available out there, and this is just one great one. This brings in those online courses where it takes the user out where they can access that information online. So now we're going to show you a few examples for what we refer to as side loading. If you get MARC records from your vendor, you can side load those into Aspen Discovery. That means they'll be discoverable within those results, and users can click on that information and get linked right out to that location. So you'll notice here it took them right out to that particular resource within the system. Our next example here is Spokane County Library District, and this one we're using for Peterson's test and career prep. I can remember when I worked at the library, this was always a very popular one. And what I love about this is that now you have the most recent versions online, and they're also discoverable within the system. So you can see here, as we go through, they have the electrician, SATs, and it gives the link to access it directly online. So now those results will be in line when the patron searches. They can use Aspen Discovery's advanced search or discover them within the web resources. Our next example here is Metropolitan Library System. We've pulled up their Learning Express library. Bill, this is another popular one we also get questions about quite a bit. And they're using the integration here to side load the records that they get to show off all of their Learning Express library. So you'll notice as we scroll through, whether it's algebra or reading comprehension, whatever it may be, this links directly to the ebook where the user can access that information right online. So again, another easy way to have those results for Learning Express discoverable within the search. Okay, our next one is always a very popular one, and this is Comics Plus. Now, this is Darien Library in Connecticut, and they've done a wonderful job kind of highlighting what they have available. And you can see here in the customizations that they have done, highlights some of those titles that they have available via Comics Plus. You can see here that the format they have for eComic takes them right out to check those titles out that they have available. You'll notice down below too, where we get our Explore More section, they have created lists for Comics Plus, one for adults, one for kids and teens. So again, another great way to explore that information where they can see what's available, and it takes it out to review some of that information. So by using Aspen Discovery's Explore More, they can not only see what's available with those eComics, but also lists that have been created. Our next example is Nashville Public Library in Tennessee. And here we're highlighting the Bookflix, Books and Bookflix movies, and how they were able to use side loading to bring in these results. So you'll notice here as we start scrolling through, we can see ebooks and e-movies that are available for users, and they can click right on that link to take them out and begin that process for checking things out within the system. Okay, our next example here is Knox County, Tennessee. And this is one that I always get excited about personally. It's the Chilton Library, because I can remember when those were just manuals in the library that would always be popular and individuals would be checking out. Now you can see those right online. And what's great about this is those again will show right in search results. So they'll be able to come in here, explore that information, see that e-resource, and then access Chilton online. And what's nice is you can even tie in your Explore More to have it discoverable. So here, this is what we refer to as web resources in Aspen Discovery, and it's a great way to highlight the information. So if a user does do a search, they'll see that in those Explore More sections where they can see those resources. Staff can then put in a little more information about what this particular resource does, tie in a image or logo, and then of course access to that particular resource within the system. You can also categorize it and attach it to an audience. So in some cases, we might have more subscriptions that are adult-based and some that are more for children. And this gives you the opportunity to identify exactly who the audience is, and it gives them another avenue to perform that search. Our next example is Spanish Fork Library, and Bill knows this one, but this is my favorite as a patron, Creative Bug. So whether you're a crafter, a sewer, or whatever your passion is, Creative Bug is awesome because it provides little e-videos on how to make things. And I have two daughters and we love to craft and do things. And I am fortunate enough that my library has a subscription, and this is just one really neat way that you can tie those e-videos in. You know, a lot of times we don't know that we have access to these resources, and now they can be discoverable right in those results. You know, Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and whether you want to make a beautiful little pumpkin or whatever it may be to put on your table to celebrate the festivities or whatever it may be, you can come and explore that information in Aspen, and it will not only bring back crafting ideas if you have Creative Bug, but all of those resources that are available. And again, you'll notice as we come down here to our Explore More section, we can see tie-ins for other resources available. All right, our next example here is Downers Grove Public Library, and they are part of the SWAN Library Consortium in Illinois. And here we're using Flipster to highlight their e-magazine integration. One thing I really like about the e-magazine integration is, you know, a lot of people have really transitioned away from print, although we still have some print that we can check out and that's popular, but we also have those e-magazines that we can provide for our users to be able to browse through month to month or quarterly, however often it's coming. And this is just a nice way to have that information discoverable for our users within the system. So again, as I scroll through, we can see those e-magazines, and it gives me a direct link to access that information online. Our next example here is Marion County Library in Florida, and we are highlighting their Freeding integration. So here you can see we have the information that they have side-loaded into Aspen Discovery that is now discoverable within the system. So again, you'll see that information to access it right online. And then as I explore more, I can see other titles that are available. You'll notice here that they have the EBSCO integration turned on. So I can also come in here, click on that link, and it will show me any other titles that are available via EBSCO. So this is a great way to tie in that integration within the system. And now I can see all of those results. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I can narrow down and see a little more information about those particular titles. The facets change dependent on the type of search we're performing in Aspen. So I can narrow down if I'm looking for full text or a particular source. If I come down below to, let's say, content provider, I can come in and narrow down just a little bit further. Our next example here is Curry Public Library, which is again a branch that's part of the Coastline Libraries or a larger system, a consortium in Oregon, and we're highlighting Canopy. So lots of libraries have Canopy. Now, Canopy is a part of the Overdrive Libby family. However, there is not a direct API integration to Canopy. I always say yet. I'm very hopeful that one day Overdrive or Libby will make that connection. But this allows you to sideload information from Canopy directly into your results. So now I can see all of those e-videos within the system. You'll notice there's a link here that takes out to access online. We mentioned this before, but Bill and I always get excited about this. Aspen does allow you to customize. So sometimes people will change this to streaming or stream online. You can customize that language so it matches what your patrons and users are familiar with. So it makes it really easy for them to discover what's available within your collection. All right, our next example here is Dubuque County Library District, and they are in the great state of Iowa. Got my states mixed up. This one shows us our Gale integration. So lots of our libraries have Gale resources, whether it is ebooks or eContent, and this allows you to bring that information directly in from Gale. Again, these are side-loaded titles, which allow us to have those discoverable within the system. So whether it's ebooks or eContent, users can come in and link to that information right online. Now to wrap things up, we have a couple other examples that we want to show you for eContent with databases. So we saw a quick preview with Marion County where we showed you their EBSCO integration. Now we'll show EBSCO-Host. This is Wisconsin Valley Library Service and their VCAT catalog. This shows us integration with EBSCO-Host. Again, you'll notice that some of our facets are different over here on the left-hand side, and that allows us to narrow down. Users then can come in here in the center of the screen, and they can click on those results. It will, of course, take them out to authenticate within the system. And then, of course, they also get that Explore More section. So since we started our search within articles and databases within Aspen Discovery, we then get other integrations that are available within our regular catalog results. So print titles that we may have available, or lists or events going on that match that search. Our next example here is House of Lords. And this is a Aspen Discovery library that is supported by our partners, PTFS Europe, and they are one of the first to have the ProQuest Summon integration. So you can see here, a quick search brings back the results. You'll notice again that our facets are a little bit different on the left-hand side, and that allows me to narrow down by either content type or database name within the system. That integration allows the user to then, of course, click and authenticate to read more of that full text that's available within the system. And again, if we come down to the bottom, that Explore More gives us options to narrow down or look at other resources in the collection. All right, our last and final example is East Providence Library, which is part of a large consortium, Ocean State Libraries in the state of Rhode Island. And this feature is what we refer to as web resources. Web resources in Aspen Discovery allow you to highlight by category and audience the type of databases or resources that you have available within the system. So you can see here, they are highlighting the thousands of ebooks and digital audiobooks they have, connection with Palace Project, Mango Languages, Learning Express, Udemy, EBSCO, and much more. So this is a nice place. A lot of people will say, you know, I want an A to Z list, or I want a list of all of those databases. Web Resources provides them with a comprehensive list of all of those resources that are available. So sometimes somebody just wants to start fresh and say, let me see what resources are available at the library. And this is a great way for users to be able to see all of that information. Okay. So we do have one more webinar coming up in our Power and Partnerships series. And this one will talk about third-party enrichment options with Aspen Discovery. And Bill and I will be talking about all of our exciting integrations that we have within the system. That QR code will take you right out to register for that last event within the series. And as always, Bill is here to help answer any questions. If you'd like to set up a personalized demo with Bill to kind of talk about more how Aspen can work for your library, he'd be happy to talk.
So Jesse, I have one request and one question.
Okay.
Can you go to Nashville and let's show a placard? If you
Oh,
search
yeah,
for jobs, you'll get a
absolutely.
placard.
Absolutely.
And then when you do that result, I want to explain the results there. There's a question about the boxes on the search results.
Absolutely. So jobs,
Mhm.
there we go.
And this is just a link out to Peterson's database. It's another way to be able to highlight e-content. And then if you just scroll down the page just a little bit to show there we go, right? Oop, just show the jobs right there. So there was a question as to why there were two checkout boxes. It may be a little small on our screen. The one on the left that says DVD and e-comic, those just go to the item details. So if we have multiple formats, it would show multiple formats and then it goes to item detail. The one on the right is where we would check out, place holds, or go to the online resources.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe show one that has multiple editions, you know, a Pride and Prejudice to Harry Potter or something like that. So we can show that, how that shows up.
Absolutely. I think we had one earlier. Here we go.
So if we look at Little Women, that's going to have multiple editions, we're going to collapse that so that it then shows. So that's where that box on the left sometimes that takes into account too. And like Jesse had mentioned, any of these can be renamed. You have full control over how you name them, how they're labeled, the colors, everything in here.
Absolutely. I love taking like just a scroll down all of these libraries because you can see Cuyahoga uses yellow to show things that are available. Some of our libraries use green. Whatever color you feel is accessible for your library users, you can set. Accessibility is a important piece of your implementation of Aspen Discovery, and our staff here will help you set that up within the system.
And I don't see any other questions.
All right. Well, thank you all for being a part of our Power and Partnership series. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Bill.
And also, I know we were just doing the e-content here. If anybody wants to stay a little bit later and you have specific questions, Jesse and I will stay on here for a few minutes to answer those.
Absolutely. Bill and I are always excited to show off library partners and answer questions. Thank you.
All right, thank y'all. Oh, there's a question.
There
Is
we
each
go.
database considered a separate record?
I'm going to come back here and I'll show some examples. So in the concept of web resources, it would then show up as a separate database. However, with the direct API connections for, let's say, EBSCOhost or EBSCOEDS or ProQuest summons, it will bring in at the individual article level. So you'll be able to see individual articles. Whereas if we come over here, let's see, like if we take a look at OSLRI or East Providence, when I perform a search, if it matches one of these particular resources, then it would show up like as a database itself. So in both cases, it will, depending on the search that your patron is performing, either give them a result for the database itself, or if they use the API connections for things like EBSCOhost, EBSCOEDS, or ProQuest summons, they'll be able to see the journal level.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.